Hey everyone, Loaded Buggy here, back with another Call of Duty commentary, and yes, I know it has been a while. Last upload I think I posted on June the 9th, so we're a little over a month due for another commentary, and without diving too deeply into what happened, I moved across country, as many of you know, and the place that we had moved into was definitely not what we expected, and after a few dominoes started to fall, and it just became less and less of a good environment for us to be in, we decided to make the difficult decision to move to a different city. Got an apartment that was quite a bit smaller, but we're making it work. And anyway, so that's where I've been. I made a move, and then I had to move again, so it's definitely been taking up my time, along with having to deal with some of the legal aspects of moving from one state to another here in the US. It's a little bit of a challenge sometimes to get that done, on top of having to unpack all of our things and then repack all of our things and then unpack all of our things again. But anyway, I babbled on about this far too much at this point. I want to talk about something entirely different. Today I want to talk about humility and admitting when you're wrong. I don't know how many of you are in tune with the Twitch scene or the YouTube gaming drama, if you will, but I've been seeing a lot going on with pirate software recently, and I'm not going to sit here and bash any person in particular. I definitely don't think Pirate's a bad guy based off of what I've seen. Of course, I can only make a judgment based off of what I'm seeing on the internet. But the few things that I have seen about what's going on with him over the last few months is it seems that he has a little bit of a problem with admitting whenever he's wrong, or taking ownership, or just being a humble person when it comes to owning up to his mistakes, or misinterpreting things, his communication, whatever it may be. And I think that's just a trait that a lot of people can really fall on two sides, and I think we're seeing which side Pirate is falling on. He seems to be on the side of doubling down. I don't know if he is truly convinced that he is entirely right in all the circumstances that he claims he's right in, or if it's just a matter of fighting his way out of this as to save his reputation, but in doing so, he's kind of destroying it. But enough about Pirate. I really want to talk about just kind of this notion of humility. It's something that a lot of people struggle with. They don't want to look like a fool, and in being wrong, they feel that that makes them appear to be a fool to other people, and the public eye, the perception of the public eye is what traps a lot of people regarding this trait. And I think that's just kind of a consequence of how modern society is, and how self-centered society is, and how obsessed society is with other people's opinions. And I think it's strange because at the same time, in the public eye, many people say to be who you are, accept who you are, and don't care about what anyone thinks, just to turn around and judge someone just as hard, if not harder, than they're judging themselves. And it's a rather interesting dynamic, if you ask me, this back and forth of be who you are, but as long as it falls within these parameters that I have set and haven't spoken and are adjusting every few years, the kind of goalposts are moving to the left and the right on what's acceptable in society, and you need to make sure that you can fit in this box so that I feel okay about how you feel about yourself. It just seems so backwards, and I think this obsession with other people's perception, again, is kind of what's forcing people to do this thing that Pirate has been doing lately, where he kind of gets in his own way and doubles down on things rather than just accepting the L and apologizing for his mistake, or whatever it may be. Unfortunately, like the scene that I have already set at this point, humility is not a trait that is just inherently instilled in people from a young age. It's something that is taught. Some people's parents have just simply neglected that particular lesson, and as a result, we have people with rather sour attitudes that aren't that positive in society. And then there's some times where, in an attempt to build someone's self-confidence up, we take that confidence and we've built it to a level of cockiness where that person now has a insatiable ego that cannot be quenched, and they have an inability to say that they're wrong or to apologize. Now, I personally think that this is a trait that can definitely be fixed even later in life, but it just gets harder and harder as time goes on. I also think it takes a certain level of conviction within people to actually feel a reason to be humble or to demonstrate humility. And not everyone has those convictions. Sometimes their convictions aren't of humility, it's just, I'm surrounded by idiots and they can't understand why they're wrong and why I'm right. And that's just a very toxic kind of behavior to demonstrate amongst people. And I'll tell you a little story that actually has to do with my YouTube career here, is whenever I was streaming. And not only streaming, but streaming weekly. And I was starting to build my little streaming audience, and it was kind of the same people that were there week to week, and I could recognize names and have good conversation with them. But there was this one instance, and I'm going to spare some details just for simplicity's sake, but there was this topic that came up during the live stream, and ya boy, me, Loaded Buggy the idiot, kind of went over his head, we'll say, and started voicing my opinion on things that I did not know well enough to be able to voice opinion as fact. And as a result, some person in chat actually spoke up who was educated on this particular topic, and they corrected me. And in the moment, I kind of did the pirate thing, where I stood my ground, doubled down, and I'm like, no, I disagree. I think I'm right in this circumstance. And like I said, I got a little bit over my head. And after the stream, it really only took me a few minutes after the stream, because that was like right at the end of the stream. I concluded the stream because I had been going for a few hours, but right at the end of the stream, I felt this kind of like weight hit me that, I could have handled that a lot better, and instead of saying this like that, I could have said this instead, or just backed down and been like, maybe you're right, I'm not as well educated as I thought on this particular topic. So what did I do? I ended the stream, and then I reached out to the person and said, hey, I'm sorry for how I communicated X, Y, and Z information during the stream. I just wanted to apologize, admit that I was wrong, be the bigger person here, and bury the quote-unquote hatchet, even though there really wasn't any beef. It was just a matter of he was right, I was wrong, and I wanted to make sure that he knew that we were still good, in a sense. And he graciously accepted my apology. And then the very next week, whenever I streamed, that same viewer was there, and we had a grand old time. And it just kind of goes to show you that if you're in a circumstance or circumstances like Pirate Software has been over the last few months, that the best possible option is not fight, flight, or double down. It's just to say, I was wrong. Sometimes that's the hardest thing to do, is just say I was wrong and apologize. We allow our egos to get in the way and thus look like a fool. I'm sure we all know the old saying, pride comes before the fall. And we're seeing that in real time, unfortunately, with my boy, Pirate Software. This is a guy that many of us in the streaming community looked up to, and many of us looked to for knowledge, wisdom, and kindness. And now, in just a matter of months, we've seen someone's ego get in the way to such a degree that their career is now sort of imploding and collapsing in on itself, and it's a really sad thing to see. Pirate's not in some sort of massive illegal scandal that's going on. He just has a inability to say that he was wrong, or to say I'm sorry. And we're kind of seeing the consequences of said actions or lack thereof before our eyes, and like I said, it's really unfortunate to see. So practice humility, let your pride go to the wayside, and you'll be all right. That kind of rhymed, actually. Bye now.